Hello and welcome to another edition of TJ Video Game Review. I'm your host TJ, and today I'm taking a look at Metroid. Metroid is an action-adventure game developed and published by Nintendo and came out to the NES in August of 1986. It stars Samus Aran, a bounty hunter tasked with destroying the creature called Mother Brain. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm actually playing this through Metroid Zero Mission on a Game Boy Advance player for the GameCube, so I feel like I'm gonna break this thing. Metroid starts right off with fighting enemies and finding power-ups to further advance through the game. The A button lets you show while the B button fires Samus' main gun. Sadly, the gun can only point up or forward, meaning there are some enemies you can't get to because the gun doesn't point in that direction. One of the first power-ups you find is the morph ball. By pressing down, you can morph into a ball and reach places you couldn't otherwise get to beforehand. Can you imagine being able to morph into a ball? What would the Space Pirates reaction be? Alright, Samus, into the line. Hey, get out of there. Metroid is one of those games that does not hold your hand at all. The only way to figure out what to do or where to go next is to explore your environment. And if you get stuck, that just means there's a power-up or something you need to get before you can advance further into the game. The game is also very hard. You'll be hitting enemies, losing health, and dying in just the first couple of areas you get to. It's the true definition of Nintendo hard. Son of a monkey! Now what some of you may know already is that Metroid took a lot of inspiration from the Alien movie franchise, with one of the bosses, Ridley, being named after its director, and the isolation on an alien world which is done rather well. You really do feel cut off from the rest of the world, and it has that feeling of loneliness. But yo, Samus Aran, bounty hunter, you ain't gonna let a little thing like loneliness get you down, are you? Story-wise, it's, well, that short, sweet, and easy to remember. Graphics-wise, it isn't too bad. Samus is well defined and so are the various enemies you come to face. Some areas look the same with just a different color swap, but that was needed back because of the hardware limitations at the time, so I can't be too hard on it. All in all, the graphics still hold up even today, and I didn't have a CRT TV, so it looks good even on a more modern television set. However, despite not aging much on the graphics set, it has aged in the gameplay area. Future titles will introduce a mini-map to let you know where you've been and where to go next. The original Metroid has no such map. You're left to your wits to figure out where to go and how to get there. Also, in future titles, there are save areas and you're able to aim your gun in more directions than just up and forward. I know the game was probably limited to being made in '86, but coming back to it after you play the sequels is very hard to get back to. But what about Samus? Who is he? It's not a he, TJ. It's not a he.
It's me!
What? That's right, for the two whole people in the world who didn't know already, Samus is in fact a woman. This was a big deal at the time. Back in the 80s, it was unheard of for a woman to be the main playable character, to the point that they had to hide that fact until the end of the game. So that makes Samus groundbreaking, being the first female playable character, in Nintendo games anyway, to be playable in a game on the level of Mario or Zelda, and she's still counted as one of the biggest female video game characters even today. That said, her game sucks. That's right, who are you, bud? You can't shut me up. I'm sorry, but I had zero fun playing this game. The gameplay is so dated that it removes any kind of enjoyment I could have had playing if I did it back in 1986. It's so boring going from power up to power up with few boss fights in machine, and you don't even get the shock factor of the main character being a woman anymore because most of the whole world knows that fact by now. If you really want to go back to the beginning of the Metroid franchise, then play Metroid Zero Mission. That's much more enjoyable than this piece of shaft. Overall, Metroid is dated with a decent premise and decent graphics that doesn't reflect how poorly the actual gameplay and difficulty factor are now. It's not fun to play, but it's at least pretty to look at, and it does some things right that carry over to future titles, but future titles does it better. Skip it. That's it for this edition of TJ Reviews. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next time.